what the hell did I just watch? Seriously, that was my reaction walking out of Backrooms. Not because it was bad, not because I hated it, but because genuinely I didn't know what I had just experienced. I don't know what I just watched. And the funny thing is, after spending a few days learning about Backrooms, watching videos, reading about the lore, and understanding where this whole thing came from, my score actually went up. So today we're talking about Backrooms, the latest film from the director Kane Parsons, better known online as Kane Pixels, and why I think understanding the lore completely changes how you view this movie. Welcome to another episode of Sigma Duocast. I'm your host, Rick, and today, like I said, we're going to be reviewing Backrooms, but it's not going to be like a in-depth review. It's more of just going to be me sharing my thoughts and experience of this film. So before I get started, I want to make it extremely clear that before I went to actually see this movie in theaters, I knew absolutely nothing about Backrooms. And I mean nothing. Honestly, didn't know anything about it until the trailer came out. I watched the trailer. I didn't really know what it was. Some people got excited. My kids were very excited. And that's it. That is all I knew about Backrooms. Again, my kids who are 17 and 12, they were heavily excited. They knew what the Backrooms was. They knew Kane Pixels. They knew the YouTube videos. They knew the games. They knew the lore. And I told them one thing. Don't tell me anything. This was a very rare opportunity for me to be exposed to something that was very popular, whether it was, underground popular, but it was popular in some shape or form. And I was able to go into it completely blind. I didn't have an ounce of knowledge. And for me, if you know me, especially when it comes to pop culture and social and some of this like comic book and video games and stuff, like I have a general idea of a lot of different things. But again, this was the first time. Something new. And I was excited. So I watched the initial trailer and then that was it. I never saw anything else. I didn't know anything about the lore videos. Honestly, I didn't even know it was a YouTube thing at that point. No explanations, nothing. Again, I wanted to experience this movie exactly as someone as brand new would. So hopefully, if you haven't seen this movie or you did see this movie and you went into it brand new like I did, I hope this review will help you because I'm going to break down my initial review of the movie before knowing anything about it. And then I'm going to kind of educate what I know so far because there's still so much to learn. I'll explain it. So if you don't know, hey, I'm going to try to kind of bring you along on what I know so far, and hopefully it helps out a little bit. And if you obviously know what the Backrooms is, hey, shoot me in the comments, give me more lore, tell me what I need to watch. I've been trying to watch this dude's YouTube videos and read whatever I can. But if you know more, shoot it my way. And then I'm going to kind of re-review my review after knowing more of the lore. So I'm really glad that I didn't know anything before going to this movie because it gave me a very different perspective from a lot of the longtime fans. So I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. So before we get into my thoughts and everything, I want to take a moment to acknowledge something incredible. I want to talk about it for a brief moment. Because I'm a big box office guy. Like, and when I say box office, I want to know the numbers, box office numbers. I mean, I got it from my older brother growing up. There used to be a magazine that we used to get. He used to always get called Entertainment Weekly. Back when Entertainment Weekly was fantastic because we didn't have the internet. We couldn't just go online and read reviews and and see how a movie did at the box office performance wise, or read special interviews. No, we had to get things in the mail, whether it was newspapers or magazines. So Entertainment Weekly was one of the magazines that my brother would get, and it would have reviews, previews of movies, all this. And then it would have like, box office reports, what movie, how they do on the weekend, how they're doing. And he was kind of a nerd about it. That's where I got my nerdness from, is that, we had this old computer that I don't even know, but we had like classic floppy disks, not the like paper ones, like the next level from that, but we had floppy disks. And this dude had a spreadsheet. I don't even know if it was Excel or what it was, but whatever at that time program with spreadsheet we had. And he would pretty much take what's in the magazine and put it in this spreadsheet. Now, excuse me, if you were to ask me what the hell he did with those spreadsheets or why he was doing it, I have no goddamn clue. I don't know if it was like some sociopath thing, or if this dude had like a plan of like, doing something with it. I have no clue, no idea. But he did it. I'll ask him next time. I'm sure he'll be a guest at some point in the episode. We're going to have to talk about this Entertainment Weekly. But he was a creative guy. We'll just say that. So anyways, box office is just something from then on, little origin story there. From then on, it's something that I've always been fascinated by. I always like to see how a movie does. For me, it's not about critics. I never really cared too much about the critics, what they say about movies, whether it was like, 100% Rotten Tomatoes, or back then, Siskel and Ebert said this, or whomever, Chicago Tribune, blah, blah, like, I don't care. What I always cared about was word of mouth. What I thought about it personally, because at the end of the day, I can care less what other people think when it comes to things that I like. If I like it, I like it. If you don't like it, hey man, that's okay. But I also liked to know what people, when they speaking of didn't like it, like I would like to know why. What bring me the curiosity? Not because I'm going to sit there and change your mind. Like if you genuinely didn't like something, great, you didn't like it. But I like to understand. I like to get perspectives from people. So I always looked at the ratings of like what the audience would say. So if there's a high audience rating, usually it tells me pretty good. The other thing I would look at with box office or with movies to see if they're successful is how they do in the box office. What's their opening weekend? What's their preview night? What's their second week? Usually there's like a 50 to 70% drop the second week. That kind of goes to tell you like, they had a really good big weekend, but they did a big drop, which literally is what's happening right now in the box office. But there's something amazing also happening in the box office right now with the current weekends that really surprised me. So that's why I wanted to take a time to explain, not only with Backrooms, I know that's the focal point, but I'm going to also mention Obsession, which goes check out my review. I actually want to go back and do another episode of Obsession because there's so much to talk about. There's so many conversational pieces that's happening with that movie. So if you're a listener of this and you happen to watch Obsession and loved it, hit me up in the comments or my social medias, whichever. I would love to bring you on and let's chat about it. I know a couple people who are really obsessed with the movie, so no pun intended there. That what do you call it? I would like to hit up. But anyways, with Obsession and with Backrooms, these weren't a best-selling novel. These weren't a comic book movie. These weren't a reboot, not a remake. It's not a sequel. These are literally new ideas that started on the internet as horror concepts, right? With Backrooms specifically, it was just an internet horror concept that was a simple post, and then came a teenager named Kane Parsons that created a series of videos on YouTube, and then those videos exploded into popularity, and now the same creator is directing a theatrical film, which is, it's not awesome. It is damn near amazing. This is what everyone's dream is in filmmaking. This guy, Kane, was 14 years old making YouTube videos about probably when he was about 19 or so. I don't really know his life, but based on what I read, he started adapting the Backrooms movies, making or short films, doing his own thing. And now he wrote and directed this full feature film, theatrical. And not only was it on a budget of 10 million, not only was it successful, it was massively successful. 81 million opening weekend, which is, I understand. I'm not going to take the time to explain box office. Like, I've tracked it so many times, but just believe me when I tell you, a film that's original, has no ties to anything, Hollywood wise, with a unknown first time director, let alone a young kid. Granted, they have a couple good names attached to this film in terms of acting. A24 is a company that's been really been making some really good movies as of late. But with 10 million budget and your opening weekend is 81 million, they originally had this movie projected to make 41. Think about that; it doubled. And as of right now, box office is 135 million. So it's made its money like is no tomorrow. And the reason I bring up Obsession briefly is because it's the same story in terms of it's these two guys that were best friends. They wanted to do film. They went to move to LA to do film, to school, dropped out of school so they can focus on their own projects, went on YouTube, made their own stuff, went viral for the right things, not like some other YouTube people that are famous for contributing jack shit, pardon my French, to society. These guys, they went and they made these movies. They're doing their thing, and they made Obsession, and then it caught the attention of studios, and they did a film festival, and all of a sudden there's a bidding war. They released their film about 3 weeks ago, and it was on a budget of $750,000, not in the millions. Thousand. Although reportedly they said that it's by the time of release it reached $1 million because they probably had to do reshoots and stuff like that. But either way, whether it's $1 million or 750, that movie has now made 105 million in the 3 weeks. Again, that is crazy. Again, if you don't track box office like the nerd that I am, you would know that that is lightning in a bottle. That does not happen. The last time it happened was Paranormal Activity, if I'm not mistaken. So this is insanity. What's happening, and even more so with Obsession is, again, whenever a movie comes out, its second week, opening weekend is like is the biggest thing. It's the big deal. So opening weekend, that's where they're going to make majority of their money on their theatrical run, is that opening weekend. So for big what the hell was that? For big blockbuster films, I was trying to say blockbusters and films at the same time, and it just sounded weird. They bank on that opening weekend. Marvel movies do that. We just experienced that with the Mandalorian and Grogu, Star Wars, first Star Wars movie in forever. They had an opening weekend of 81. Same opening. Think about that. They had the same opening weekend as Backrooms, 81 million. Except Star Wars, it cost them, let me see if I can get the numbers here. I was just looking at it. Damn it. I'll get the numbers in just a few seconds. But think about this for a second. They were, it's Star Wars. It's a brand. It's a known brand. It's a famous brand. And on top of that, you got Disney behind it with marketing to do all this. And it's a family movie. It's an action movie. It's everything. And now that I brought this in front of me, it was $165 million budget. So think about that. $165 million budget. It made $81 million its opening weekend. Domestically, that is. And it's a known, famous brand of Star Wars. And here's the movie from a YouTuber. First time, $10 million budget and had 81 million opening. Think about that. That's insanity. These guys, these two movies, what's his name? Curry, the director of Obsession, and Kane, the director of Backrooms, they're shaking Hollywood. People don't realize this. Hollywood is getting shook right now. There's a notice being put out. Here's the crazy part that I would just really quick want to highlight, and then I'm going to get back to Backrooms because I can nerd out on box office stuff all the live long day. The thing about Obsession is that their opening weekend. Let me see if I can get this going here. I want to get facts for you guys because that's all I try to do is provide facts. So opening weekend of I can't even talk now. Obsession was 17 million. Okay, opening weekend. Again, this makes or breaks. 17 million, 750,000 budget. That's really good. By all means, that's really good. It's good. Then comes week 2. And I'm telling you right now, this is the common, normal thing that happens in the box office. Opening weekend, week 2. If week 2, most movies take a significant drop. Again, 50, 60, 70%. What that means is that's how much less money they make that next weekend is compared to the opening weekend, in case you weren't tracking me there. So when a movie's good, when you know it's doing good in the box office, it breaks even, or in the very, very, very rare occasion, it's positive. Most movies are never positive. Week 2, week 3. They'll either break even, which is fantastic, or they'll be like 5, 10, 20, 30% less. That's that minus 20, 30%. It's successful. Especially if your opening weekend was like 150 million and you only took a 20% drop. That's great. That's amazing. But most of the time, it's 50, 60, 70. Sometimes 80. If it's like 70, 80, 90, whoo, sorry. You got a bomb. You got a bomb of a movie. Straight up. So, week 2 of Obsession, plus 39.3%. They made 23 million compared to the 17 prior. That is bonkers. You want to know what makes it even more bonkers? Week 3, plus 14.3%. They made it 27. It is going up. I am very excited. At the time of this posting of this episode, it is, I don't even know what, it's late tonight. I don't even know. It's almost the next day. It's either Wednesday or Thursday. It's in the midnight hours that I'm recording this. I'm excited to see come Monday. I'm excited to see where Obsession at. If it's positive again, holy smokes, dude. I'm telling you right now, that's going to be crazy. 4 weeks straight. It was supposed to release digital yesterday, June 2nd. But because of the box office success, they said, no, we're not going to release it digital, which I can't wait because it's supposed to get the unrated version of that. Now, if Backrooms, it opened at 81, if Backrooms can take, because I wholeheartedly don't believe Backrooms is going to be able to go positive next week. But if it takes only like a 20% drop, as my youngest son says, boys, we're eating good. That's going to be insanity. To give you a little perspective, that 165 million budget Mandalorian Grogu, I like the movie. It was all right. It's not the best, but it was all right. Okay. 81 million opening weekend. This past weekend was its second weekend. It opened up first last weekend. It went down to third. Bookmarks. Backrooms and Obsession, number 1 and number 2. 81 million opening weekend Star Wars, 24 70.1% drop. That's a no bueno, friend. Absolutely no bueno. That's a significant drop. Even more so. I mean, it's going to do well internationally. That's the one thing. That's the thing about blockbusters is they really bank on overseas. They bank on international release. Domestically, just here in the States, if they do well, great. But international is where it really makes their money. So again, 2 weeks, 142 domestic so far for Star Wars. Obsession, 3 weeks, 116. Again, you look at that budget, Obsession's the winner. You look at Bookmarks. Oh my God, I said it again. You look at Backrooms. I'm going to make a movie called Bookmarks now. So don't worry about it. It's coming soon. You look at Backrooms, 81 million, 10 million. It's already beat Star Wars. It's already beat Star Wars. So anyways, I just wanted to take that time real quick and talk about the box office reports and just what these two YouTuber now respected filmmakers are doing. They are living a dream that I personally have always had, and a lot of filmmakers do. I am very, very happy for these individuals that are involved in making these movies. I think it's amazing. That's the dream. If you love making films, you go and you do it by any means, and one day you'll get your shot. And when you get your shot, hopefully it's great. It's everything it needs to be. I mean, this guy, Kane Parsons, man, all the love for that guy for the success he's experiencing right now and is going to experience. Now, I hope he can make other things outside of Backrooms. We'll see. As for Curry, the director of Obsession, he's already got some projects in line, including a very large licensed movie, being that a full reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it nowadays, of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So we'll see how that goes. But his next movie is going to be, it's his own. Check it out. I forgot what the hell it's called. Something to do, if I remember correctly, it's something to do with like paranormal investigators, but they're frauds. So they just like, they're scammers, but then they end up coming across something that is real ghosts. So here we go. Anything But Ghosts is what it's called. And so he's directing it. It's the original story of Aaron Paul, Bryce Dallas Howard in there. Those are going to be the two top list. The big thing about this movie that's going to be interesting is that it is confirmed that it takes place in the same fictional universe as Obsession, and there will probably be like a quick thing, maybe a thing on the news or something, but in that movie, we will know the fate of Nikki. So if you want to know what happened to Nikki at the end of Obsession, make sure you watch Anything But Ghosts, which, does it have a date? There's no date. It doesn't look like there's a date on here yet, but that is the movie that's being filmed as we speak, and we'll see how it goes. So, all right, let's get back to Backrooms. I really hope that with these guys, this movie, it's proof that, again, they're putting Hollywood on notice. Lower budget, unknown actors, original stories. This is it. Here we go, man. So this is going to be this first part is a spoiler-free review of the movie. Again, this is my review of not knowing anything about Backrooms, the lore prior. So this might be similar. If you don't know anything about it, this might be what you have here. So if you're expecting a traditional horror movie, you may be surprised. It's not this. This isn't The Conjuring. This isn't Insidious. This isn't a movie that's trying to make you jump out of your seat every 10 minutes and just throw random jump scares or anything like that. No. Instead, Backrooms creates horror through atmosphere, through tension, uncertainty, and most importantly, dread, which is what I experienced while watching these movies, especially when the main character, Clark, is in the back rooms. So, and it does this very well. This is the thing that the film does best because, well, that's the main focal point of the movie. So let me ask you this question to kind of give you an idea if you haven't seen the film yet, or maybe you have. But have you ever been somewhere where you should feel normal, but you don't? It doesn't feel normal. So if you're ever most commonly it's like an after hours. If you ever go to a place after hours, whether it's a school, a business, city, nothing's wrong. Like technically you're in the right, but just something feels off. There's no people are there when it's empty, right? There have been times, one of the places I've worked was, I've worked at Target very briefly, and there was a couple nights, but most nights when we closed, I had a couple people with me, but there was a night where I closed and I think there was only 2 more people, and they were waiting for me at the exit, the front doors of the store. And I had to, before I lock up, I have to walk a perimeter, check the building and everything. And let me tell you, man, what this movie tries to make you feel, and the one thing I was able to relate to it was this. When I was walking through the Target store, this is just a simple example of a retail store, walking through it at night, no customers. The music was already kind of I think it was auto off. And I knew there was 2 people in there, but they were literally by the doors. But walking the store and then walking the back, I guess no pun intended, but the back rooms of the store, inventory, everything, checking doors, checking everything secure. I kid you not, man. There was moments where it felt like something was watching me. Somebody was watching me. It was freaky. It was genuinely freaky. It freaked me out. Every now and then. Most of the time I'll put some headphones on, or at least one headphone, and I'll have some music playing in the background because I can't take the silence. No noise. Because if it's quiet and you're walking, you hear some random thing like something fall or just the creaking of the building or something. I'm telling you, man, that stuff freaks you out. So that's what this movie does. If you've ever experienced that, I even been once I been to downtown LA, downtown, I'm staying at the Biltmore. That's another scary hotel in itself. But there was one day, the city's always alive. It's always something's going on. But there was a night where the streets were empty. It was so bizarre. And I'm telling you, and I went outside, I was just in the sidewalk, and I'm sitting there, I'm looking around, I'm just you don't hear too much. You hear in the distance, you hear the traffic in the freeways, but there's nothing going on the streets. Now, it wasn't completely deserted. There was at least 1 or 2 people here and there. But dude, it still felt bizarre. I've even been in my own personal town, downtown at 1 a.m. or something. It is eerie. So that's what this movie does. It focuses on the sound. It gives you that sound to really be scared. The buzzing of the fluorescent lights, the echoing of hallways, distant sounds, silence. It really creates that. So all that stuff meshed together, there's a consistent feeling of anxiety. So A+. They captured it in film, and I felt it watching, especially because I was able to relate it. And that has nothing to do with lore. That's just personal experience. Then you factor in the acting, which was fantastic. The best. The lead actor in this film, the main character essentially was played by God, I always butcher his name, so I'm hoping I pronounce it right. But Chiwetel Ejiofor. He in the Marvel universe, he is not Dormammu, Mordo. He's like in Captain America's. Oh my God, dude! It's late, guys. I'm telling you right now. This is like the wee hours of everything. Doctor Strange he's in the Doctor Strange movie, and he is Doctor Strange's like right hand guy, helps him out, teaches him everything, so to speak. And then he's also in the second one, and then other movies that you might see him in. Keeping it with Marvel, you also he's in the third Venom movie. One of the movies he's in that I like him in is The Martian with Matt Damon. He's in a lot of stuff, honestly. He's a phenomenal actor. Phenomenal. And in this movie, he kills it. He really does such amazing work. The other lead in this is actress Renate Reinsve. It's a Norwegian actor. I'm telling you, man, I'm butchering these names probably. I don't really know anything that she was in before. At least I don't think so. I'm quickly right now as I'm talking to you guys double checking if I've seen her in a movie. And no. Oh, you know what? I saw her in that TV show Presumed Innocent. It's on Apple TV with Jake Gyllenhaal, which is a really good show. That one is based off of a book, but if you haven't seen that movie, Presumed Innocent, on Apple TV, check it out. It's 8 episodes and really, really good. What's it about? It's about a prosecutor becomes a prime suspect in a murder of his colleague with whom he was having an affair. So, yeah, that's a good one to watch. So I did see her in that movie, or in that show. That's the only thing I've seen her. I actually didn't realize that until right now. So, and he should look familiar to me. Anyways, acting was great. Their performance helped ground the film, because honestly, some of the things that were happening were really strange. Without believable performances, the whole thing falls apart. But the actors, they sell it well. They do a great job expressing their emotions. All emotional moments felt very real. Their confusion felt real. When they had fear, felt real. When they were being a little cocky, felt real, if you will. So the acting wasn't an issue. It was phenomenal. The visuals were amazing. Pacing was a little bit off for me, but just a smidge. The only other thing that I really struggled with was understanding what exactly I was looking at. Like, the movie gives you pieces and hints and like clues, but it's very, very little. Like, it never fully explains itself, which at the time I didn't know it's the intention. So again, someone like me with no prior knowledge, I had no idea. So by the time the credits rolled, I sat there thinking, that was a good movie, but what the hell happened? Like, me and my wife just looked at each other like, what the hell did we just watch? What was this even about? Because I went with my 17-year-old son, because my 12-year-old decided to go with his friends a couple days prior. My 12-year-old son my 17-year-old son was like, whoa, that was awesome. What'd you guys think? He was all ecstatic. And I'm sitting there like, bruh, this was like, it was good, but it was like, what the hell? It was, it was creepy. It was well made, but the movie leaves you with so many questions. And yeah. So because of that, my initial score, before knowing anything about Backrooms, any of the lore, nothing, going into this completely blind as a brand new audience member of the Backrooms, 7.5 out of 10. Yep. 7.5. So, that being said, let's get into a little bit of spoiler territory, but ultimately explain more of the lore. So, if you haven't seen the Backrooms yet, you can pause here, come back, go watch it, come back, and continue here. So that way, the first part of it, I'm just going to explain the lore before of Backrooms. And so if you went into it, didn't know anything about it, and you're like, what the hell did I watch? Just come here, fast forward to this part or whatever. And I'll try to explain what I know so far. And then I'm going to kind of briefly review the film and give you an updated score on that. So let's go straight to it. All right. So what is Backrooms? So after watching the film, I started researching, and what I discovered completely changed how I viewed the movie, because Backrooms initially started with a single image posted online back in 2019 on 4chan. It had one image, and that's it, with some words. The image showed a strange maze of yellow walls, stained carpet, and fluorescent lighting. And then the caption was added, and all it basically said was, if you're not careful and you no clip out of reality, you'll end up in the back rooms. Now, if you're a gamer, you know what no clipping means. Essentially, no clipping is when you glitch through a wall or fall outside the map or accidentally access an area where you're not supposed to reach. Right? So this happens to this. God, what game was? I think not Skyrim, but Oblivion. One of the Elder Scrolls games was like pretty notorious with that. But yeah, so if you're walking on the ground and all of a sudden you just fall through the ground and you're like falling into infinite abyss, you're like, what's going on? Or you, there's a couple Spider-Man games where it's like you kind of hit the angle of the wall just right, and you're able to go through a wall that you're not supposed to go through. Now you're inside a building and the building's like hollow, but you can see like, yeah, that's no clipping. It's just basically glitching through something that you're not supposed to, and you discover something there. So that idea is simple. What comes into play is, what if reality could glitch? What if you accidentally slip through the cracks? And what if on the other side was an endless maze of rooms? That's the original Backrooms. There was no story, no heroes, no villains, no explanations. Just a creepy idea. And honestly, that's kind of genius, because the fear wasn't coming from monsters. It was coming from isolation and the fear of being lost forever, the fear of being somewhere familiar and unfamiliar at the same time, the fear of that reality itself is broken, and then something interesting happened. The internet got involved, and people started creating lore. They started adding levels, monsters, survival guides, maps, entire civilizations. The Backrooms evolved from a creepy image into a massive fictional universe. And some people love that. They expanded the lore. I mean, what more? I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? And of course, there were others that hated it because they felt the mystery was the entire point. And which I can see, that's its own little argument. That's its own little, debate, not argument, but I guess debate, you know? You have the mystery of this, but then you want to add more to it. I think it's okay to add to it. I just think that if the entire world was adding to it, then we weren't getting something solid. And that's where I would hate, is because people can create new rules, new fiction, new stuff, and it just could create chaos. But along came Kane Pixels, aka, Kane Parsons, aka Kane Pixels. You can go on YouTube, search for that. And this is where the movie really starts, because Kane's version, he took all these ideas and everything and he started creating his own. But Kane's version introduced the idea of Async. Async is a research company that discovers a way to access the back rooms, which we see in the films. What we don't know, though, is what exactly they're doing. So Kane took the instead of going supernatural horror, which is kind of what probably would have felt and started with Backrooms, he shifted that to a more science fiction horror. He introduced scientists, experiments, research facilities, dudes in hazmat suits. And so the Backrooms became less of a ghost story and more of a dimensional anomaly. And suddenly the movie started making a lot more sense to me. Because the biggest thing I realized was that Backrooms wasn't really about monsters, which I kind of got that. Honestly, I really got that from the beginning. Actually, kind of a little bit into it because I was expecting it, but it's not really about monsters in my opinion. But it was a lot about the mystery. The Backrooms itself is the main character of the film. And so once I understood that, and hopefully you understand that, everything starts to click. So let me give you an idea of what Backrooms is when we talk about no clipping and going into this, like in the movie, he goes through the wall and everything. So I was trying to think, what can I compare it to that people might be familiar with? And I know one property, a lot of people will be familiar with. The other one, which would probably be my better example, a lot of people wouldn't. And so I'm going to go with that one first. If you've watched, we see it a lot in the comics. So Marvel comics, DC, even in the films, like they kind of have it, but they call it something else. So once I kind of understood that concept, like, oh, that's kind of what the Backrooms is, it made more sense to me because I know more of like comic, Marvel and DC, their internal science, rules, laws, physics, just structure of everything. Like I understand those worlds better, right? So if you've ever watched DC Comics, the Peacemaker show on HBO Max now, whatever the hell it's called nowadays. If you watch the Peacemaker show, you briefly see it in the new Superman movie, by the way, but Peacemaker, they did it better. They have what they call pocket dimensions. And pocket dimensions were essentially these like doorways or ways that they created access to enter. And it just took you to like this, in the DC, a dimension that was a pocket dimension. It was just something that existed somewhere. No one knows exactly where it existed, but you were able to go. It's an actual place. It's endless. Like in Peacemaker, they had access to a door. They opened the door and they're able to enter the pocket dimension. And within that pocket dimension, it was just a vast, like big room that never ending. And it had numerous doors, and every door led to another dimension, another universe or whatever. Like that's how they create their multiverse in DC, the current DC films. And again, you briefly see this in the Superman movie. So if you didn't see Peacemaker and you see Superman, Lex Luthor has a door or creates a portal, whatever, access to a pocket dimension. And that's where he has like his little prison. Again, I think the one in Peacemaker is better. And honestly, it kind of almost looks like the Backrooms, only it's never ending doors, kind of like something you would see in Monsters, Inc., Disney Pixar. So there's another example. That just instantly happened. If you haven't seen Peacemaker or that, think of Monsters, Inc. The fact that they have doors. I mean, no, that's not actually a good example because those doors led to the human world. It didn't lead to a pocket dimension. Anyways, kind of similar concept. And then you take the other property that I was going to talk about that most people know, Stranger Things. So a lot of people have watched Stranger Things. So you can also compare it, kind of. I don't want to get crucified for this, but you can kind of compare Backrooms to Stranger Things in the sense that there's the Upside Down, which you can pretend that's a pocket dimension, that's another dimension, another area, like the Backrooms. And there are some areas you can access that. You could either fall through. In this case, it's pretty straightforward as far as how Stranger Things does it. You can go through little holes, break the fabric of the ground, the time or whatever, and you enter the Upside Down. But then you have this company, the science company, that goes into the government or whatever. They find a way to create a doorway into, or 11 creates it or whatever, but they manage where they can go in and out. They're wearing hazmat suits and they're entering in and out of the upside down, and they're trying to discover what it is, what's in there, what's that. That's what Async is. Async, in the lore of Kane Parsons' creation, it's a company that found a way to create a doorway into the back rooms, and they're trying to map it, discover it, and initially they're trying to solve like the housing crisis. They feel like, oh, this is infinite space, so we can like put like supporting like housing development. I don't know, like that part. Again, I don't know everything about the lore, guys. Don't get at me, but that's kind of what I read, that was initially what it is. Again, even in this dude's YouTube videos, they're like 9 minutes, 8 minutes, 5 minutes here and there, and they don't explain crap. Like, you're just like, what? It just leaves you with more questions and more curiosity, which is, again, the point of this movie and why it's so popular. But what makes the Backrooms feel different, and personally, and this is one of the fascinating ideas in the film, is that instead of having like this set place, like a pocket dimension or the upside down or any of that, the Backrooms exist, and there's ways to get into it, and sometimes fall through, hence the no clipping. But the Backrooms seems to be alive, and it interprets human memories. And there's a line that it compares it to. Just, so there's a line in the film that I absolutely loved, and they said it a couple times, and I guess this was their easiest way of explaining how the Backrooms creates things, because when they go in there, when you see it, obviously if you've seen the movie or if you haven't seen it, like everything looks crazy. But they say, they compared it to, if you've never seen a dog before and I describe a dog to you and you've never seen one before, I'm explaining to you how it looks, characteristics, whatever, and then I tell you draw that, there's a good chance that you might draw a dog exactly how a dog looks like, or you might draw something completely different because it's your interpretation. And so, again, you might get something close or you might get it completely wrong. And that's what the Backrooms appears to do. It takes memories of places, objects, people, experiences, and it reconstructs them imperfectly, which explains, again, the strange rooms and the distorted spaces, bizarre objects, and for the most part, everything just doesn't make sense. And honestly, that's what's very, very terrifying, because what the movie doesn't answer, and what I haven't found an answer, is what exactly the Backrooms is and how is it like doing that? How is it able to tap people's memories? And do they have to be in there for it to get access to that? Or is it just where they're at? Because, again, this movie leaves you with so many freaking questions. And so, sorry, I'm like processing my thoughts here. So again, the more I learned and appreciated, the more I learned about this stuff, the lore and everything, and then thinking back of what I just saw, I appreciated what Kane was trying to accomplish. And the movie wasn't trying to answer every question. It was trying to make me ask questions. So, like I was just saying, like, how exactly does it, because it establishes that you have Captain Clark's furniture store, and it's built like on top of, I guess, one of the gateways to the upside down. Oh my God, to the back rooms. And I don't know if it's like things are filtering down, which they kind of allude that in the movie. There's a part where like the camera's panning. It starts on top and it's like the home of Mary, and then it starts panning down like levels. And as it keeps going down, like things are getting like diluted, like it's starting to not look like the original room. And so by the time it gets to the bottom, it's like something very funky or empty. And so I guess what I'm trying to understand, or the question I had with this movie was like, does it have to be an origin point? Because we know that Captain Clark's furniture store is one, and we do know that originally Mary's home was one, and her mom was a little psycho. She went crazy. I'm alluding to probably she had access to the back rooms or discovered the back rooms, but we find out that the house got destroyed and they built the async facility or building on top of it. Because again, my thing is like, is there access points, or can you no clip at any point? Does it exist below Earth? So again, there's so many questions. And then there's other questions to think about, like, who was the real Clark? Because this is where the fans are starting to talk, like, was he real, or was he a copy or a fake one? Was the entity Captain Clark the entire time, or was it one of the other entities that's introduced in the YouTube series? And then it takes the form of Captain of Clark. So he's always the entity. You do see briefly at the end that the entity, or Captain Clark, will say, because I don't know if that was really the entity or not, Captain Clark is being dissected in the brain by the scientists, by Async. Like, why exactly is like? There's just so many questions, and those questions, the fact that I didn't know what the hell was going on in this movie, and then I go watch this stuff, and now I have even more questions. That's exactly why people became obsessed with this world. Bam. Tied it back to the movie Obsession. No, I'm just playing. That's why people were so obsessed with this world. This is why it's such a big thing on YouTube. Because by the end of the movie, I wasn't thinking about Clark anymore. Like, he did his story. He's there. I did care about Mary, what was going on, what's going to happen to her and stuff like that. Because I look, she's alive, guys. She's 100% alive. That Mary you see in there is just a copy. It's the memory of her being there that the Backrooms created. And then Phil, played by Mark Duplass, by the way, which amazing. I like him as an actor. He can play a funny guy, and he can also play a very creepy dude. And he gave us a little bit of creepy in this one, which was great. But I want to know what his involvement is. What is he doing for Async? I also want to know about the scientist in the beginning of the film, which was phenomenal. Him running and everything, and then we see his key card, which is interesting because he is an actor. God, what was his name? He didn't even let me see if he's even credited. Yeah, they credit him. It's Avon Hoya. He's a async explorer of the Backrooms. I guess, his voice, you don't actually see him. You just see him in the key card. He played Leon in the Welcome to Resident Evil movie, and he was also in Zombieland. He was in other stuff too, like some Nick show, Victorious. If you're asking, this guy knows Victorious, you damn well know I'm Victorious. You know why I know Victorious? Because I watched iCarly. iCarly was the shiz, bro. Oh, come at me. I don't care. I haven't seen the reboot, but I've seen the originals. All right. Anyways. I want to know more about him. Like, I want to know if we're going to get more. If he's done, then it is what it is. But like, I want to know more, man. Again, those characters, Async, that's all I cared about. So I wasn't thinking about the ending. I was just thinking about the Backrooms itself. That's all I want. That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know now. I want to know more about it. And that's when I realized the movie had succeeded. Because I got curious. It made me freaking curious. And I'm saying this like I'm mad, but I'm actually not mad. Because after the movie, it got me talking to my kid about telling me more about this stuff. It got me researching. It got me exploring. It got me somewhat invested. And now I understand completely why my kids were so excited to see this movie, why there's so many young adults, because this is their era. This is their current generation of entertainment that started in YouTube. I get it, why they're excited. And they weren't just excited for a movie. They were excited because this is a universe that they've already been following for years. They watched the Kane videos, they played the games, they understand references that completely went over my head, and now I finally get it. And I think it's awesome because I'm over here, like, it made me, just like a little segue thing, it made me realize people who don't know certain things, like they don't know Harry Potter, they don't know Marvel, they don't know Game of Thrones, they don't know video games like Legend of Zelda, Mario, Final Fantasy, like any of these properties, people are just not a fan of it, and they completely know jack squat, nothing about it. And then they get introduced to it, and they're like, what the hell is this? What is it? I have so many questions, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe they could become fans and invest, or maybe they don't. But I now understand how they feel, if that makes sense. There's one thing of not knowing something and then you see it, but there's a difference between not knowing a fandom and a property that's heavily popular that now is going to blow up and discovering it for the first time after it's already been created for many, many years. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but in my head, I'm explaining it as I'm thinking it, and it makes perfect sense. But I'm just so happy because now I'm curious, I'm excited, and I want to know more. And yeah. So, all right. So now that I know more about the lore, more about what Backrooms is, I gave you guys my original score of 7.5 out of 10 because I didn't know jack anything. So after learning about all this and understanding the context behind the film, my score is now 9 out of 10. That's right. It's not because the movie changed. It's not because, it is because my understanding changed. Backrooms isn't a movie you simply watch. It's a world you discover, and I think that's what makes it special. Again, I still have so many questions, but that's exactly the point. You're supposed to leave this movie with so many questions, and it's supposed to lead you to go and discover more, to try and get as much as you can. That's how it started from the very beginning. The ambiguity, everything, the mystery. That's what keeps you coming back. So if this movie is your first step into the rabbit hole, like it was for me, well, good luck for one, but it goes a lot deeper than you think. There's so much more to this film. There's so much more to cover, and I'm sure that I'll want to talk more about it as I learn more about the lore and everything. But I tell you, this was amazing. This was good. So if you've seen it and you didn't really like it or you didn't understand it, do your research. Go check it out. You'll get better perspective on that. But that's my thoughts review of the film Backrooms. I think it's great, and I can't wait to talk about it more. So until next time, thanks for listening to Sigma Duocast. Be sure to go on my socials, TikTok, website, everything. Give me your comments. Give me your thoughts. I want to hear it. I want to talk to the fans of this becoming franchise and get more perspective. But until next time, see you later.